This work is essentially based on the tomb of King Hiram, who was the world's first Freemason, and he was the ancient king of Tyre, which is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world in southern Lebanon, which grew to prominence for its production of the pigment for the color purple. At some point on the planet, 1 gram of purple pigment used to cost 10 grams of gold. It was the most expensive thing in trade. And Julius Caesar used to have his clothes dyed with it, and Cleopatra, and so that's why purple became the color of royals all across Europe. But it all stemmed from this ancient city in Lebanon, which Hiram was the king of. So this represents a time in history where movement and openness and trade existed through the Middle East, as opposed to its closed-off nature now. It's essentially an imprint of the location, and I essentially take a fabric, which you can easily roll up and put it in my suitcase and go to these different sites. So the initial stages of the work is placing fabric onto the structure and using charcoal to do frottage rubbings of the surface. Then I collect material, earth, ash, different types of shrubbery and flowers, and I dye the fabrics using them. So everything you see in wood that remains on the outline is based on the original shape of the structure of the tomb, and the way that the fabric interacts with it depicts how it's been eroded with time, as this is a large limescale historical site. It's assembled differently every time I install it, essentially, just based on where it goes. This piece was initially commissioned by the Carnegie Museum of Art. So the piece itself is constantly changing, as the actual tomb itself. There are personal pieces of fabric within this work, but I do not like to think through my work as an individual. What I would hope for my work is to create a notion of collectivity rather than a singular experience. The work is always meant to invoke the passage of time, in the sense that nothing has been like this forever. Well, my work is basically a response to landscape painting, which is historically inherently colonialist in its use and its depiction. If you go to any museum collection, you will see, for example, many paintings of the Holy Land that don't look like the actual landscape itself, but rather an imagined European countryside. My work uses the actual material of these sites to essentially depict a more truthful version of landscape art, one that is not used to project imagined ideals, but rather the reality of the site. So my practice is very much a response to all forms of painting, even materially, in the sense that I use pigments, fabrics, and wooden bars, which are the basic tenets of painting. Essentially, all the works are like deconstructed painting, where in sculpture you start, with a piece of wood or a piece of rock, and you carve down into the shape. My work, like painting, starts from flatness and builds its way up. Despite the final work existing somewhere between mediums, I think of myself as quintessentially a painter, as I think through painting while I am working.